Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to look at subject-to deals. So first, what is a subject-to deal? A subject-to deal is a type of real estate transaction where the buyer purchases a property subject to the existing mortgage. What this basically means is that the buyer takes over the payments on the existing mortgage, rather than going out there and obtaining a new mortgage and paying cash for the property. They keep the current mortgage as it is under the seller's name. And here are the detailed steps of how a subject-to deal works. Step 1, identify a property. So the buyer needs to identify a property that they're interested in purchasing, in this case subject to the existing mortgage. And then, just like any other real estate transaction, they need to research the property. The buyer conducts research on the property, including identifying the current market value and researching the current mortgage details.
Contact the seller. The buyer contacts the seller to express their interest in purchasing the property subject to the existing mortgage. Negotiate a purchase agreement. The buyer and seller negotiate the terms of the purchase agreement, including the purchase price, closing costs, and the terms of the existing mortgage.
And as part of that, they need to review the mortgage documents. The buyer needs to review the existing mortgage documents to ensure that, number one, they are willing and able to assume the payments on the mortgage. Basically meaning if the lender does approve subject-to deals or doing an assumption of the loan. And finally, they close the deal. The buyer and seller close the deal, and the buyer takes over the payments on the existing mortgage. And as part of that process, the buyer needs to review the mortgage details, including the payment amounts, the due dates, the penalties for late payments, as well as the payoffs. And then the buyer starts making payments on the existing mortgage according to the terms of the mortgage details. And it's very important to note that subject-to deals are not legal in all states. And also, it's not easy to find a motivated seller who's willing to do a subject-to deal typically. So it does require some research, and it does require some negotiation on your part as an investor. It's always highly advised to make sure that you discuss this and consult a real estate attorney or a mortgage professional before proceeding with the subject-to deals. Not all mortgage companies are open to this type of transaction, and it's very important that you make sure you consult all of the legal resources that you have available to you before going forward with the deal. So let's look at what a subject-to deal looks like. So let's say John owns the property at 123 Main Street, and he owes $100,000 on that property. Now Bill would like to purchase that property from John, and that property that he owes $100,000 on is worth $120,000, just to make it simple. Bill will then make an offer to John. Let's do a subject-to deal, meaning you currently have a mortgage with ABC Mortgage Company. Instead of Bill going out there and getting a new mortgage, qualifying for it, purchasing it, and transferring the mortgage from ABC Mortgage to XYZ Mortgage, they essentially keep the mortgage as it is under John's name. The seller, is John in this example, would then still have a mortgage under his name, but it would be, and a title will show up. The property has been transferred to Bill, subject to the mortgage that it's under John currently. Once that mortgage has been paid off, then the ownership will transfer and that mortgage will be off the title. That's how typically it works.